Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe and leave a like. It means everything to us. Please share this video with someone you care about and switch on post notifications so you won't miss any future videos. Thank you for always supporting. Now, relax and let's begin. Maureen Okoye learned to smile the way brides learn to balance heels carefully. At weddings, Jude held her waist and told people, "My queen," and they nodded like they could see love shining. At home, his affection had conditions. "Where are you going?" came before. "Good morning." He liked her calm because it made him look like a good man. She liked peace because it kept the house quiet. Still, some nights, Maureen stared at Jude's sleeping face and wondered why love felt like reporting for duty. That weekend, they attended a friend's anniversary. Jude posted them with a caption, "Forever." In the car, he reached for her phone. "Let me see your pictures," he said casual. Maureen hesitated. His smile didn't move, but his eyes hardened. "You're my wife," he added, soft like honey over a blade. Maureen unlocked it, heart tight, telling herself it was normal. But when Jude scrolled 2 long messages, calls, everything, she realized he wasn't looking for memories. He was checking control. The rules arrived without announcement. Jude began tracking Maureen's spending like a manager reviewing receipts. "Why did you buy this?" he'd ask, tapping the bank alert on his phone. If she visited her friend for too long, he called twice. If she didn't answer fast, he sulked like a child denied sweets. Maureen tried gentle honesty. "Jude, I'm not a teenager," she said once, laughing to soften it. Jude's face remained polite, but his tone turned cold. "I'm protecting you," he replied. Protection became permission. Maureen noticed she started explaining everything before being asked. "I'm going to the salon. I'll be back by." Jude would interrupt. "Send your location." She obeyed because disobedience made the air heavy for days. At night, when she curled into bed, her body relaxed but her mind stayed awake. One evening, she whispered, "Do you trust me?" Jude didn't look up from his phone. "Trust is earned," he said. Maureen swallowed the lump in her throat and thought, "How do you earn what you already gave?" The call came from the village like a voice from the past. Maureen's elder brother, Obina, had been gone for years, but his name still lived in her chest. Their uncle's message was simple. The land Obina bought, the land he promised would be Maureen's safety, had been officially transferred to her. When she received the papers, she cried quietly over the document like it was a letter from heaven. The land wasn't luxury. It was memory. It was protection. It was Obina saying, "You won't be stranded." She didn't tell Jude immediately, not out of deceit, out of fear of the way Jude's eyes brightened whenever money entered a room. She placed the document inside a plastic folder and hid it at the bottom of her box of old clothes. That night, she sat on the edge of their bed, fingers shaking, and rehearsed how to say it gently. But Jude came in talking about investments and expansion, and Maureen felt her courage sink. She waited, she listened, she promised herself soon. Jude found out anyway, not from Maureen, but from a careless family congratulation that slipped through a phone call on speaker. His head lifted like a dog, hearing meat hit the floor. "Which land?" he asked immediately, too eager. Maureen's stomach tightened. She tried to keep her voice normal. "My brother left it for me," she said. Jude's smile widened. "Ah, God is good," he murmured, already calculating. He hugged her that night with a sweetness that made her uneasy, like a gift wrapped too perfectly. Over the next week, Jude became supportive. He asked for the survey plan. He asked for the location. He asked for the title number. Each question sounded innocent, but felt like an interrogation. "I just want to help," he insisted. When Maureen hesitated, he laughed. "Maureen, are you hiding land from your husband?" The laughter didn't reach his eyes. She forced a small smile. "It's not like that," she said. Jude leaned closer, voice low. "Then you'll show me everything. We are one." Maureen nodded. But inside, something whispered, not when one person owns the other. Maureen began noticing the cracks in Jude's busy schedule. He stepped outside to take calls and returned smiling for no reason. He guarded his phone like it was a newborn baby. One night, while Jude showered, a message flashed on his screen. Charlene, did you talk to her about the land? Maureen's fingers went numb. She stared until the screen went dark, like it had swallowed the truth. When Jude came out, humming, she asked carefully, "Who is Charlene?" Her voice sounded too calm, like it belonged to someone else. Jude didn't flinch at first, then he laughed too loudly. "Charlene, that's a client's assistant," he said, waving it away. Maureen watched his face, how quickly the lie formed, how smoothly it traveled. "Why is she asking about my land?" Maureen pressed. Jude's smile thinned. "Because I mentioned you might sell. Don't start this paranoia," he warned. Maureen's heart hurt, not from jealousy alone, but from the casual disrespect. She whispered, "I just want truth." Jude's eyes sharpened. "Truth is, I'm the one thinking for this family." Maureen looked away and began taking mental notes. The papers came on a Sunday afternoon, placed on the table like a harmless meal. Jude sat across from Maureen, acting patient. "This will help us grow," he said, tapping the document. "Just sign. We'll use the land as collateral, get quick cash, expand my business, then repay." Maureen read slowly. She saw phrases that didn't sound like repayment. She saw words that sounded like surrender. Her hands trembled. "Why do they need my land if this is your business?" she asked softly. Jude sighed, like she was exhausting him. "Because you don't understand finance." Maureen lifted her eyes. "I understand ownership," she replied quietly. Jude smiled, the kind that meant danger. "Maureen, don't embarrass me," he said. "I'm your husband." She pushed the papers back. "I can't sign this," she whispered, voice breaking. Jude's chair scraped the floor as he stood. "So, you don't trust me?" he snapped. Maureen breathed slowly. "It's not about trust, it's about safety." Jude leaned in, whispering, "You'll regret this stubbornness." And in that moment, Maureen understood. Jude didn't want partnership. He wanted permission to take. The punishment didn't come as shouting, it came as absence. Jude stopped greeting her in the morning. He stopped asking if she ate. He moved around the house like she was invisible, but he made sure she felt it. Then the money restrictions started. Her card declined at the supermarket. She called Jude, confused. He answered with a calm cruelty. "Use your own money," he said, "since you have land and you're now independent." Maureen's face burned with shame in the checkout line. She paid with the small cash she had and walked out feeling smaller than her shadow. At home, Jude sat watching TV, unbothered. Maureen placed the groceries down and tried to speak without tears. "Why would you do that?" Jude shrugged. "I'm teaching you priorities," he said. "A wife should not challenge her husband." Maureen's voice shook. "I'm not challenging you. I'm protecting what my brother left me." Jude's eyes turned sharp. "Your brother is dead," he said flatly. "I'm alive. I'm your future." The words slapped harder than a hand. Maureen went to the bathroom and cried silently into a towel, then wiped her face and promised herself, if he wants war, he will fight evidence, not emotions. Jude began using his mother like a weapon, wrapped in respect. Dolores Okoye loved tradition, and Jude knew exactly how to feed her story. He visited her more often, bringing groceries, kneeling for blessings, sighing dramatically. "Mama, I'm trying," he'd say, voice heavy. "But Maureen is changing. She's listening to strangers." Dolores frowned. "A good wife doesn't hide things," she scolded. Jude nodded, hiding satisfaction. By the time Dolores visited their house, she looked at Maureen with suspicion, as if Maureen was the one breaking the home. Maureen served food with quiet hands, swallowing her pain. Dolores cleared her throat. My daughter, why are you refusing your husband? She asked in front of Jude. Maureen tried to answer gently. Mama, I'm not refusing him. I'm just being careful. Dolores waved her hand. Careful for your husband? In my time, a woman's peace was submission. Jude sat beside them pretending neutrality, but his eyes watched Maureen like a judge. Maureen forced a small smile. I hear you, Mama, she said. Inside, she added, one day you'll hear me too. Because Maureen understood something painful. People choose the story that protects their comfort. She decided her truth would protect her future. The house was quiet that night, the kind of quiet that makes secrets louder. Maureen went to fetch water and heard Jude on the balcony, his voice low and sweet in a way he no longer used with her. She slowed her steps. Then she heard Charlene's laughter. Through the phone, sharp, proud. Jude chuckled. Don't worry, he said, relaxed. Sell her land fast. I'll teach her a lesson. The sentence landed in Maureen's body like ice water. She held her breath, hand gripping the wall, heart pounding so hard she feared it would betray her hiding. She didn't storm out. She didn't cry loudly. She returned to the kitchen and placed the cup down slowly, as if nothing had happened. Jude walked in minutes later, smiling. Why are you awake? He asked. Maureen looked up with tired eyes and performed defeat. I couldn't sleep, she whispered. Jude stroked her head like she was a child. Don't worry, I'll handle everything, he said. Maureen nodded and said softly, okay. But inside her mind, something switched on cold and clear. He thinks I'm weak. That's his mistake. That night, Maureen opened her notes app and typed one line. Balcony call, dates, sell her land fast. The war had begun. Maureen wore sadness like a costume because it made Jude careless. She moved slower, spoke less, and let her eyes look watery. Jude interpreted it as victory. He started acting generous again, buying small gifts, calling her baby, acting like peace had returned. Maureen accepted the gifts quietly, not because she was fooled, but because she wanted him confident. Confidence makes guilty people loud. You see, Jude told her one morning, when you relax, life is sweet. Maureen forced a faint smile. Yes, she replied, voice small, and watched him preen. Charlene also grew bolder. She began liking Maureen's photos online, a silent warning. She sent Jude messages that popped up while he sat beside Maureen, and he didn't even hide the screen properly anymore. Maureen pretended not to notice. Instead, she listened how Jude spoke when he thought he had power. She'll come around, he bragged on calls. She has no choice. Maureen's stomach twisted, but she kept her face blank. At night, she whispered into her pillow, Obina, guide me. Then she remembered her brother's voice from childhood. If you want to win, think like the person hurting you, then protect yourself where they never look. Maureen began to plan with patience, not panic. Maureen met barrister Pascal Nwosu in a quiet corner of a small cafe far from Jude's usual routes. Pascal had known her family for years. He once helped Obina sign documents when Maureen was still in school. When Maureen explained everything, her voice shook, but her details were sharp. Pascal listened without interrupting, eyes steady. You're sure he said, sell her land fast? He asked. Maureen nodded. I heard him, she whispered. Pascal exhaled. Then we do this properly, he said. No shouting, no threats, evidence. Maureen wiped her tears quickly. I want to stop it, she said. Pascal leaned forward. If you stop it too early, they'll pretend nothing happened and become smarter. Let the evidence mature, he advised gently. Let them attempt the transfer. Let the trail form. Then we strike with truth. Maureen's hands trembled. But it's my brother's land, she murmured. Pascal softened. Exactly. That's why we protect it with law, not emotion. He slid a small notebook across the table. Write dates, save screenshots, record what you can, legally. And Maureen, do not let Jude suspect you. Maureen nodded slowly, swallowing fear. I can act weak, she whispered. Pascal's gaze held hers. I know, he said, but don't become weak inside. Maureen became a quiet collector. Each time Jude's phone lit up with Charlene's name, she noted the time. Each time Jude left the house for work on a weekend, she saved the location he forgot to turn off. She took screenshots of bank alerts that came to the shared email, the ones Jude assumed she never checked. Sometimes she recorded Jude's voice when he spoke carelessly, his bragging, his threats, his plans wrapped in jokes. She did it with shaking hands, then breathed deeply and deleted nothing. Fear tried to drown her, but purpose kept her afloat. Jude noticed her silence and mistook it for submission. Good girl, he said once, patting her head after she apologized for something she didn't do. Maureen forced a small laugh. I'm trying, she said, eyes lowered. Inside, she thought, I'm building your cage. Charlene also messaged more often, pushing Jude to move fast. Have you done it? Charlene texted. Jude replied aloud, while beside Maureen, forgetting she could hear his tone. Soon, he muttered. Maureen pretended to be focused on cooking, but her ears caught everything. That night, she sent Pascal a message. They are rushing. Pascal replied, Good. Russian people make mistakes. Maureen stared at the screen, then at her wedding ring, and felt a strange calm. He taught me survivor. I'll teach him consequences. With Pascal's guidance, Maureen visited the land registry quietly. She dressed plainly, head scarf low, like a woman running errands. At the counter, she spoke softly. I want to place a caution on my file, she said. The officer raised an eyebrow. Any dispute? Maureen swallowed and chose her words carefully. I suspect an unauthorized transfer attempt, she replied. Her voice almost broke, but she held it. The officer nodded, sliding forms forward. As Maureen signed, her hand shook, not from uncertainty, but from grief that she had to protect herself from her own husband. When the caution was logged, the officer explained, any movement on this land will trigger an alert and require extra verification. Maureen thanked him, eyes burning. Outside, she stood under the sun and breathed like she had been underwater for years. She called Pascal. It's done, she whispered. Pascal's voice was calm. Good. Now, let them try, he said. Maureen returned home and found Jude smiling unusually. I have good news, he announced, too cheerful. A buyer is interested. Maureen widened her eyes like a frightened child. Buyer? She asked. Jude's grin sharpened. Yes, you'll sign soon. Maureen looked down and murmured, Okay. Then she walked away, hiding the tremor in her knees, thinking, Try. Please try. Charlene didn't like being a shadow. She wanted daylight, recognition, replacement. So, she started appearing where Maureen could see her at the mall, at a lounge near Jude's office, even at a family event she had no business attending. The first time, Maureen was buying toiletries when Charlene walked past slowly, perfume loud, heels clicking like a warning. Charlene smiled at Maureen like a queen greeting a servant. Hi, she said sweetly. Maureen froze, then answered calmly. Hello. Charlene leaned closer. Jude speaks highly of you, she lied. Maureen's chest hurt, but she stayed composed. That's nice, she replied. Charlene's smile tightened. You're quiet, she observed, testing. Quiet women break easily. Maureen met her eyes briefly. Or they break records, Maureen said softly, then turned away. Charlene's face hardened. Later, Jude accused Maureen. Why did you look at her like that? He demanded. Maureen acted confused. Look at who? Jude's lips curled. Don't play games. Maureen lowered her gaze. I'm tired, Jude, she whispered. Jude scoffed and walked away. Charlene texted him that night. She's stubborn. Move faster, Jude replied. Leave it to me. Maureen heard his voice through the wall and wrote another note. Pressure from Charlene rushing. The net was tightening. Jude started celebrating Maureen's defeat like it was a trophy. At gatherings, he teased her publicly. Maureen has finally learned that a home needs one head, he joked, and people laughed, not knowing it wasn't a joke. Maureen smiled politely, but her heart felt bruised. Dolores nodded proudly beside Jude. My son knows how to lead, she said. Maureen swallowed pain like bitter medicine. On the drive home, Jude continued. You see, respect looks good on you, he said. Maureen stared out the window and said, yes. At home, Jude's confidence became carelessness. He left documents on the table. He discussed agents openly on calls. He forgot to lower his voice when speaking to Charlene. She's soft now, Jude bragged. She'll sign or she'll cry. Either way, we'll sell. Maureen walked into the room at that moment with a tray of water and acted like she heard nothing. Baby, Jude called. Come and sit. Maureen sat, hands folded, eyes down. Jude stroked her cheek. Good wife, he said. Maureen forced a small smile and thought, good witness. That night, she sent Pascal a voice note. He's talking too freely. Pascal replied, keep your face neutral. Let him bury himself. Maureen lay in bed beside Jude, listening to his breathing, and felt the strange grief of loving a man who had become her evidence. The call from Kent Adebayo came on a Tuesday morning. His tone was professional, careful. Good morning, Madam Maureen. I'm calling regarding the land at Umuagu Axis. We are scheduled to begin clearing next week, he said. Maureen's heart jumped, but she made her voice sound shaky. Clearing? She whispered. I didn't approve any clearing. Kent paused. I was told the sale was concluded through your representative. He replied slowly. Maureen pressed a hand to her chest. Please, can you tell me who your representative is? She asked, voice trembling on purpose. Kent gave a name Maureen had never heard, then added, I have documents, transfer forms, signatures. Maureen swallowed hard. Sir, can we meet? She asked. Kent hesitated. I don't want trouble, he said. Maureen's tone softened, gentle and human. I don't want trouble either, she replied. I just want truth. Kent agreed to meet at a neutral place. When the call ended, Maureen's hands shook for real now, not acting. She sat on the edge of the bed, breathing fast, and whispered, Obina. Then she opened her phone and typed, Kent called, clearing next week. She sent Pascal the details. Pascal replied, good. The buyer is now a witness. Keep calm. Maureen wiped her eyes and practiced her defeated face before Jude returned home. Because this chapter of the lesson had officially begun, Kent spread the papers on the table like he was laying out a funeral cloth. Maureen leaned forward, eyes scanning everything. Her name was there. Her photograph was attached. Even her signature looked similar until she saw the tiny differences. The curve was too sharp, the dot misplaced, the flourish wrong. It felt like seeing her face on someone else's body. This isn't my signature, she said quietly. Kent's shoulders dropped with relief, as if he had been waiting for confirmation. I suspected, he admitted. Your agent was rushing me, pushing for quick payment. Maureen asked for copies, her voice calm but her insides shaking. Did you pay through bank transfer? She asked. Kent nodded. Yes. Through a company account, then to a personal account, he said. Maureen's eyes lifted. Whose account? Kent hesitated, then showed her the details. A name appeared connected to Charlene Sekou, an associate. Maureen's throat tightened. She didn't want to believe it, but she had already heard Jude's balcony call. Kent rubbed his forehead. Madam, I'm not a thief, he pleaded. Maureen nodded gently. I know, she said. That's why you helped me. Kent looked at her, surprised by her steadiness. How? He asked. Maureen's voice turned soft as prayer. Tell the truth. Give me every receipt, every message, every name. Kent exhaled. I will, he promised. Maureen thanked him and left with a folder that felt heavy like destiny. Kent called again that night, sounding nervous. Madame Maureen, I checked my emails. The agent sent voice notes instructing me not to contact you directly, he confessed. Maureen's stomach knotted. Please forward them, she said. Kent hesitated. If this becomes police matter, my company will panic, he admitted. Maureen's voice softened, tired but firm. Say, my life is already panic, she replied. Help me so we can protect ourselves. Kent went quiet, then agreed. Minutes later, the voice notes came in, pushy, threatening, greedy. Maureen listened with tears in her eyes, not because of the agent, but because Jude had likely used her own marriage bed to plan it. The next day, Maureen met Pascal and played everything. Pascal's face stayed controlled, but his eyes hardened. This is strong, he said. Now we need to confirm Jude's connection, Maureen sighed. He'll deny, she whispered. Pascal nodded. That's why we build a chain. Bank accounts, messages, witnesses. Maureen's voice broke. I don't want him arrested. I just want peace, she confessed. And the truth of her pain filled the room. Pascal placed a steady hand over hers. Maureen, peace without justice is temporary, he said gently. He will repeat this. Today it's land. Tomorrow it's your dignity. We stop it properly. Maureen nodded slowly, swallowing grief. Outside, the world moved as normal traffic, laughter, sunlight, while Maureen's marriage quietly turned into a courtroom file. And Kent, the buyer, began transforming from problem into proof. Maureen invited Dolores for lunch, acting like a woman trying to make peace. She cooked Dolores' favorite soup, served it hot, smiled politely, and spoke softly. Mama, you've been right, Maureen said. Maybe I should consider selling the land. Jude has been stressed. Dolores' eyes brightened with approval. That's wisdom, she declared. A home needs cooperation. Maureen nodded, eyes lowered. Yes, Mama. She wanted to vomit from the bitterness of pretending, but she held it. When Jude came home and heard the conversation, his face lit up like a man hearing victory drums. Jude hugged his mother, laughing. Mama, you see, she's learning, he said loudly, making sure Maureen heard. Dolores smiled proudly. My son, guide her well, she advised. Jude turned to Maureen, voice sweet and sharp. Thank you, he said, like she had finally paid a debt. Maureen forced a small smile. You're welcome, she replied. That night, Jude called Charlene, excited. He didn't even leave the room. It's working, he whispered. She's ready. Charlene laughed. Good, sell fast, she urged. Maureen sat quietly on the bed, pretending to scroll, recording the audio with trembling fingers. Dolores had just witnessed Jude's celebration and Maureen's agreement. It would matter later, not because Dolores meant harm, but because truth often hides inside family moments. Maureen turned off the recording, wiped her eyes, and whispered, I'm sorry, Mama. Then she sent the file to Pascal. The money began moving like a storm, approaching first small signals, then loud thunder. Jude's mood improved dramatically. He started buying new clothes, spraying expensive perfume, smiling at himself in mirrors. One day he walked in holding car keys he didn't mention before. Business is improving, he announced. Maureen nodded, acting impressed. That's good, she said softly. Jude leaned close. See what happens when you stop fighting me, he murmured. Maureen swallowed her anger. Yes, she replied, forcing calm. Meanwhile, Kent forwarded the transaction trail. Payments routed through an agent and into an account tied to Charlene's associate. Charlene's social media became noisier. New bags, new wigs, captions about God's blessings. Maureen saw it and felt something break quietly inside her. Jude wasn't just betraying her heart. He was spending her brother's legacy on another woman's pride. One night, Jude laughed into a call. We'll travel soon, he told Charlene. You deserve it. Maureen stood in the doorway unseen, hands shaking. and listened. Charlene replied, "And what of Maureen?" Jude scoffed. "She'll survive. She always survives." The words cut deep because they were true. Maureen had survived everything. But survival was no longer enough. She needed freedom. She texted Pascal, "He's spending already," loudly. Pascal replied, "Good. Spending creates patterns. Patterns create proof." Maureen stared at the message and felt the slow burn of justice building under her pain. The breakdown came without drama. Maureen stood alone in the kitchen, staring at Obina's land papers, and her knees suddenly gave way. She slid to the floor, covering her mouth so no sound escaped. Tears soaked her palms. She remembered Obina's laughter, his promises, his voice saying, "Maureen, no matter who you marry, you will never be empty-handed." Now her husband was trying to make her empty-handed on purpose. She whispered, "Obina, I tried." And the grief came in waves. Grief for her brother, for her marriage, for the version of herself that believed love meant safety. When she finally rose, she washed her face, looked at her reflection, and spoke to herself like a friend. "You will not lose," she said quietly. The next morning, she visited the land again, only in her mind. She imagined building something small, a home, a shop, a future that didn't beg. Then she called Kent. "Sir, thank you for cooperating," she said. Kent sighed. "Madam, I'm also tired. This is messy," he admitted. Maureen's voice held steady. "Mess is temporary," she replied. "Truth is permanent." She ended the call and sat in silence, feeling stronger, not because she wasn't afraid, but because she had decided fear would no longer drive her decisions. That night, Jude reached for her hand in bed like nothing was wrong. Maureen let him hold it, then stared at the ceiling, thinking, "Hold it while you can. Soon, you'll be holding consequences." Maureen approached Jude gently, like a woman tired of fighting. "Jude," she said one evening, "can we talk with someone neutral, just to settle everything peacefully?" Jude looked up, suspicious at first, then pleased. "So you're finally agreeing you were wrong?" he asked. Maureen lowered her eyes. "I'm agreeing that peace matters," she replied. Jude smiled, satisfied. "Good," he said. "Arrange it." Maureen nodded and sent Pascal the plan. Pascal responded with one line. "Book the room. Bring the investigator." Jude arrived at the mediation venue, dressed like a Victor Sharp outfit, confident walk, phone in hand. "Where is the mediator?" he asked, glancing around. Maureen sat quietly, hands folded, eyes calm. "They're coming," she said softly. Jude leaned close, voice low. "Don't waste my time," he warned. Maureen nodded, acting timid. "I won't." Jude texted Charlene. "She's ready to beg." Charlene replied immediately. "I'm nearby. Let me know when she cries." Maureen saw the screen glow and felt her stomach twist, but she kept her face smooth. She wanted Jude arrogant. Arrogance makes people careless with truth. Then the door opened. Pascal walked in first, calm and composed. Behind him came a man with a file and a badge. Jude's smile flickered. "Who is that?" Jude asked. Laughter forced. Maureen's voice was gentle as she answered, "That's the neutral person you asked for." And Jude's confidence began to sweat. Charlene sat outside the building in a parked car, checking her mirror, fixing her lipstick, rehearsing victory. She imagined Maureen crying, begging, finally breaking. She had spent months feeding Jude's ego, telling him he deserved a real woman, promising him a life where no one questioned him. Charlene didn't love Jude. She loved what Jude could buy. And she hated Maureen's quietness because it felt like dignity Charlene couldn't fake. When Jude texted that Maureen wanted peace, Charlene laughed. "Peace is what weak women ask for," she said to herself, adjusting her dress. While waiting, Charlene called Jude repeatedly, hungry for updates. No answer. She grew impatient. She sent a voice note. "Make her sign quickly. Don't let her delay. Still no reply. Charlene's confidence started shifting into irritation. She stepped out of the car and walked toward the entrance, but security stopped her. "Madam, are you on the list?" the guard asked. Charlene frowned. "I'm his companion," she snapped. The guard shook his head. Charlene hissed and returned to the car, angry. She sat, tapping her nails, mind racing. Why isn't he answering? Then she called again and again. Inside, Maureen's phone stayed silent in her bag, but Charlene's ringtone echoed in her own ears like a warning she couldn't interpret yet. Charlene didn't know the story had already changed. She still believed she was watching Maureen's downfall. She didn't realize she was parked outside the beginning of her own. Jude's laughter cracked as the investigator settled into the third chair. "This is a joke," Jude said, smiling too hard. "Maureen, what is this?" Maureen kept her voice soft. "It's clarity," she replied. Pascal opened a folder calmly. "Mr. Jude Okoye, we are investigating an attempted fraudulent transfer of Mrs. Okoye's land," Pascal said. Jude scoffed. "Fraud? Me?" He turned to Maureen sharply. "Maureen, tell them you consented." Maureen looked down, breathing slowly. "I didn't," she said, voice trembling just enough to sound believable. The investigator spoke, steady and formal. "We have complaints, transaction trails, and supporting communications. We also have a cooperative buyer willing to testify," he said. Jude's skin seemed to tighten. "Buyer?" Jude repeated, suddenly less loud. Pascal slid a printed bank trail across the table. "Money moved through accounts linked to your household and your associates' network," he explained. Jude leaned back, swallowing. "This is nonsense," he whispered, but his hands shook slightly. Maureen watched him carefully. She had seen Jude brave in public, cruel at home, proud everywhere. Now she saw him uncertain for the first time. The investigator added, "This meeting is not to embarrass you. It's to record facts." Jude's eyes darted to Maureen, sharp with fear. "You set me up," he hissed quietly. Maureen finally lifted her eyes. "No," she said softly. You set yourself up the day you decided my brother's gift was your punishment too." Jude opened his mouth to reply, but Pascal raised a hand. "Let's proceed," he said, and the room turned cold with truth. Pascal held Maureen's phone gently, as if it contained fragile glass. "Mrs. Okoye has recordings," he announced. Jude's face twisted. "Recordings?" he snapped. "That's illegal." Pascal's voice remained calm. Some are voice notes sent to her. Some are overheard in her own home. "We will let the investigator determine admissibility," he said. Then Pascal looked at Maureen. "Are you ready?" Maureen's throat tightened, but she nodded. "Play it," she whispered. Her voice sounded like someone stepping into fire. Jude's voice filled the room. "Sell her land fast. I'll teach her a lesson." Jude's head jerked, as if slapped. The next clip played Jude instructing, negotiating, mocking. Then another Jude boasting that Maureen was soft. Maureen's eyes burned. She didn't enjoy hearing it. It broke her again, but it also freed her. Jude stood abruptly. "Stop it!" he shouted. The investigator's voice cut through. "Sit down, sir." Jude froze, breathing hard. Maureen's hands trembled in her lap. She whispered, "That land was for my sister's school fees. It was for my future. He wanted to erase it to control me." Jude's eyes flicked with panic. "Maureen, please," he said, suddenly soft, suddenly desperate, like a man discovering his power is not permanent. Maureen blinked back tears. "You didn't beg when you planned," she replied quietly. "So don't beg when you're caught." And Jude's pride began to crumble in public. The investigator didn't stop at the land. As questions deepened, Jude's answers became inconsistent. He said he didn't know the agent, but the transaction trail showed repeated transfers from an account linked to Jude's business. Pascal requested bank statements through proper channels. Kent submitted his evidence, Emails, messages, voice notes, each piece connected like beads on a string. Jude's face lost color. "This is about land," he insisted. The investigator's tone remained neutral. "It's also about forged consent, suspicious funds movement, and potential laundering through shell accounts," he said. Maureen listened, heart pounding. She hadn't known how deep Jude's secrets ran, only that he was careless with money and ruthless with control. Now she realized Jude's image was funded by hidden wrongdoing. Jude leaned toward her, voice shaking. "You want to destroy me," he whispered. Maureen's eyes filled. "I wanted to be safe," she whispered back. "I wanted a husband, not a threat." Pascal placed a document on the table. "Mr. Okoye, we will proceed legally. If you cooperate, your consequences may be lighter. If you lie, you worsen it," he said. Jude stared at Pascal with hatred and fear. "You're enjoying this," Jude spat. Pascal shook his head. "No, I'm preventing a woman from being stripped bare by the man meant to protect her," he replied. Maureen felt a tear slip down. It wasn't joy. It was grief that she needed law to get what love should have given freely. Outside, Charlene's patience snapped into anxiety. Her calls went unanswered. She sent messages. "Jude, are you okay?" No response. Her confidence cracked. She stepped out of the car and paced, heels clicking like a clock counting down. "This man can't be ignoring me," she muttered. She tried again. Voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Charlene's pride began to sweat. She leaned against the car, suddenly feeling exposed. She wasn't a wife. She wasn't family. She was a secret until secrets became scandals. Inside the room, Maureen's phone vibrated non-stop in her bag. The investigator glanced at it. "Someone is calling you repeatedly," he noted. Maureen's voice was calm. "That's Charlene," she said softly. Jude flinched. Pascal looked at Jude. "Do you want to deny that too?" Pascal asked. Jude's jaw tightened. "Don't bring her into this," he said. The investigator raised an eyebrow. "She's already in it, if funds and instructions touched her circle," he replied. Maureen didn't pick the call. She watched it ring and felt something shift, control. For months, Jude controlled what rang in her life. Now, Charlene's ringing was proof of panic, proof of involvement, proof that their confidence was cracking. Charlene left another voice note. "Jude, answer me. What's happening?" Maureen stared at the screen, then placed the phone face down. She didn't need to answer. The truth was already speaking louder than her voice. Dolores heard the first rumor like a slap. Someone from church asked, "Mama Jude, is it true police came to question land matter?" Dolores frowned, confused. She called Jude immediately. No answer. She called Maureen. Maureen hesitated, then answered softly. "Mama," she said. Dolores' voice was sharp with fear. "What is happening in my son's house?" Maureen swallowed. "Mama, I didn't want you involved," she whispered. Dolores snapped. "Involved? You already involved me when you came to my home talking about selling." Maureen's eyes filled. "That's why I'm sorry," she said quietly. When Dolores finally met Pascal and heard the recordings, her face changed shock, disbelief, then heartbreak. "Jude said he was teaching her respect," Dolores whispered, shaking. "He never told me he wanted to steal." Pascal's voice was gentle. "Ma, he used your authority as a witness to make it look like Maureen agreed," he explained. Dolores' eyes filled with tears she didn't want to show. She turned to Maureen and saw something she had ignored. Exhaustion, fear, quiet strength. "My daughter," Dolores murmured, voice cracking. Maureen's throat tightened. "I tried, Mama," she whispered. Dolores covered her mouth, grief heavy. Then she looked away and said almost to herself, "I raised him better than this." For the first time, Dolores didn't defend Jude. She defended truth. Her heartbreak became a turning point, not because she suddenly hated her son, but because she finally saw how power had corrupted him. And seeing is the beginning of change. The legal process moved slowly but firmly, like a heavy door closing. The land registry flagged the transfer under Maureen's caution. The attempted sale was halted pending investigation. Kent submitted formal testimony. I did not meet the owner. I was rushed. I was misled. Bank accounts tied to the agent were frozen for review. Jude's workplace heard whispers first, then received official requests. The company placed Jude on suspension. Jude came home one evening with sweat on his forehead and rage in his eyes. You ruined me, he spat at Maureen. Maureen didn't move. You ruined you, she replied quietly. Charlene tried to escape the storm. She called Jude, crying, suddenly. In love, suddenly innocent. Jude, I didn't know it would be like this, she sobbed. Jude shouted into the phone. You pushed me, Charlene screamed back. You promised me you had control. Their love became blame. Their romance became evidence. When investigators requested Charlene's statement, she panicked. She tried to meet Maureen privately, wearing humility like a costume. Maureen, please, she begged, tears ready. I didn't mean. Maureen's voice was cold, but not cruel. You meant to replace me, she said. You just didn't expect the law to hear you. Jude began to beg too quietly at first, then desperately. Maureen, let's settle, he pleaded. Maureen's eyes filled with sadness, not softness. You tried to sell my future to teach me a lesson, she whispered. Now, learn yours. And Jude's fall became inevitable. The final chapter didn't end with shouting. It ended with silence that felt like sunrise. The land was secured again, transfer cancelled, documentation protected, a legal warning stamped firmly onto its file. Maureen stood with Pascal beside her at the registry office, holding the updated papers in her hands. She felt Obina's memory settle in her chest like a warm cloth. Pascal asked gently, Are you okay? Maureen smiled through tears. I'm not okay, she admitted, but I'm free. Pascal nodded, proud but quiet. That's the beginning, he said. At home, Jude tried one last time. He blocked the doorway like a man still pretending he owned the world. You can't leave, he said, voice trembling. Maureen looked at him for a long moment, not with hate, but with finality. I already left the day you became my enemy, she replied softly. Dolores stood behind Jude, tears in her eyes. Jude, let her go, she whispered. Jude's shoulders sagged as if weights finally touched him. Maureen walked past him with one suitcase, no dramatic speech, no revenge laugh, just dignity. Outside, the air felt different. She didn't feel like a winner. She felt like a survivor who finally stopped surviving and started living. And the shock that stunned everyone wasn't just Jude's downfall. It was Maureen's quiet strength, walking away without begging, holding her future like a reclaimed name. We've come to the end of the story. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Leave a like, share, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notification. Thank you so much for watching.